The stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the Manfromleng. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, we are continuing with our campaign through the Forgotten Age cycle. That's right, we are going on to Heart of the Elders Part 2. I was hoping to bring you Heart of the Elders Part 1 and Part 2 at the same time. Unfortunately, Heart of the Elders Part 1 caught me by surprise, and it ended up taking a lot longer getting that episode out than I thought it would. So I am bringing you Heart of the Elders Part 2 today. Funny story, unfortunately, this is not the first time I have played this scenario. I did a previous recording and forgot to hit the button in OBS that switched windows. So I have the entire audio log of the recording, but no video of the of Octagon. I forgot to make the switch between my PowerPoint and Octagon. So I have the recording. I beat the scenario. I gained 4 VPs, but unfortunately I did not record it. So I am going to give it another shot here for you. If you are interested in hearing that recording, I know there are some of you out there who enjoy listening to games and instead of watching them on YouTube. I can post the audio to my blog and make it available through my RSS feed, and you can listen to it that way. So without further ado, we are going to give this another shot. Unfortunately, the surprise is gone for me, but hopefully I can bring you a good game here today. After Heart of the Elders Part 1, you are not allowed to change your deck, so that is out of the question. We are using the same Ursula Downs deck that we used to beat Heart of the Elders 1. However, I was poisoned in that second game at the end, so I had to add the poisoned to the deck. I did earn 3 experience, however, for a total of 4, so I'm hoping to repeat that in this game and walk away with a sweet 8 XP going into City of Archives next month. The provisions have not changed. The supplies didn't change simply because you don't have a chance to... there's no interlude, so you can't use medicine or anything to get rid of the poison weakness in the deck. And the only thing that was added to the campaign log was the Jungle Watches, which you have to record all the names of the creatures and whatnot that are in the victory display, and then you have to add them to your scenario, to the victory display for this scenario. So you start at Vengeance X or whatever. We fortunately do not have to do that since we did not have any enemies in the victory display at the end of Heart of the Elders Part 1. So we do not have to worry about that. We are set up and ready to go in Octagon. We have Ursula Downs here with her 2 mental trauma and 1 physical trauma and her charisma in play. Ursula starts in play at the mouth of Kinyan, the depths beneath. It's a 2-shroud location with 1 clue, and it has the action check your supplies. If you have a map, look at the top 2 cards of the exploration deck. Discard each treachery looked at by this effect. Shuffle the exploration deck. We do not have a map, unfortunately, so we will have to just take the treacheries on the chin. And it is connected to the yellow circle, the blue triangle, and the green diamond. The agenda is 1A, the Lonely Caverns. Though much of this cavern system is natural and untouched by humans, you are stunned to find signs of an ancient civilization that once inhabited the area. And it has the action, if there are no clues on your location, explore, draw the top card of the exploration deck. If it is a connecting location, put it into play and move to it. And it has the forced effect, when this agenda advances, do not remove Doom from each location in play. We are familiar with that mechanic from the Doom of Estley, which also left Doom in play. So we will be hoping to avoid adding any Doom to locations if at all possible. Act 1A is Cavern of the Forgotten Age. The vast underground caverns of Kinyan are cold and all too quiet. Scattered, forsaken ruins lie undisturbed along the path, your path to the nexus of Nakai. What happened in this ancient and forgotten place? Were these ruins once occupied by humans, or by a species far, far older? And we will need 3 clues per investigator in order to advance. We are playing Heart of the Elders on standard difficulty. The skulls are -1, -3 instead if you are at a cave location. Most of the locations in the exploration deck are caves, so the skulls are, for all intents and purposes, going to be -3s for the remainder of this game. The cultists, of which there are 2, are -2s, and if you fail, you place a doom on your location. We will be trying our best to avoid that if at all possible. There are no tablets, and there is the Soul Elder thing, which is a -3, and if you fail, you take 1 horror. We also start with 1 location out and not in play, and that is Descent to Yath. It has the orange heart symbol, so we will be looking for locations that have that symbol on it in order to get to the Descent to Yath. It's a 3-shroud location with 0 clues. It has the Ancient and Cave traits, and the Forced effect after Descent to Yath enters play. Each investigator must either place 1 doom on Descent to Yath or draw the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. After you successfully investigate Descent to Yath, instead of discovering clues, you may flip 1 doom on the Descent to Yath to its clue side. And it's worth Vengeance 2 and Victory 2. Now, having played this, having run through this successfully once already, basically the end game is just getting to the Descent of Yath, and then you have the option of taking the doom or the cards. If you just take the cards, then you can basically win the game that turn. So that will be what I'm trying to do in this. I'm going to try to repeat that so I can simply beat it as quickly as possible. And Ursula is certainly capable of beating scenarios quickly if all the stars align with her movement and extra investigation. We are set up and ready to go. I've got my mug. I've got my drink. I've been playing Arkham Horror all day. I've been running through a Leo Anderson campaign. First time playing Leo, really enjoying that, and I'm super psyched here to bring another episode to you. So let's get started with drawing our opening hand. We'll shuffle up our deck, and let's get going here. We will draw our 5 cards, which are going to be... I've got a plan, an Unexpected Courage, an Unearth the Ancients, a Disc of Itzamna, really nice to see that, and another Unexpected Courage. I am going to pitch all of them, except the disc. I will keep the disc, so I will draw 4 cards. We draw an Emergency Cache, a Fieldwork. There is Overzealous, our weakness, and another Fieldwork. So we get 1 more card, and that is going to be a Magnifying Glass. We will shuffle all those back into our deck, and we are ready to get started. We get our 3 actions. First action is going to be to play the disc. We want the disc outs to protect ourselves from enemies that will hurt us. That's 3 resources. Second action, we are going to take and make an investigate action, and during the player window, during the skill test, I'm going to play my magnifying glass down. So we are going 5 versus 2. Let's see what the Chaos Bag has to say. Chaos Bag says -3, so we do pass that, but just barely. We have 1 action remaining, so we will do some exploring. We will shuffle up the exploration deck. Now, I believe there are 4 treacheries. There's a Pitfall, a Deep Dark, and there's a, yeah. So hopefully we can just get some locations here and get a good start. So here we go. Let's see what we get. There's a Deep Dark right off the bat. So that's an unsuccessful exploration. And that will pretty much end our turn there. We will go to the Upkeep Phase. We will draw a card. There is our weakness, Overzealous. Wow, that didn't take too long. Draw the top card of the encounter deck, and that card gains Surge. We will draw the top card of the encounter deck. It is Curse of Yig. Put Curse of Yig into our threat area. We get -1 combat. Not too worried about that. We only had 1 to begin with. -1 health. That I'm more concerned about, and we gain the Serpent trait. And we can test 2 willpower. If the test gets +1 difficulty for each vengeance point in the victory display. If we succeed, we discard the Curse of Yig. It does gain Surge. It surges into Final Mistake. Test 2 agility. This test gets +1 difficulty for each doom on your location. If you fail, take 2 damage. I really don't like that. So we are 4 versus 2. Let's go 5 versus 2. I will commit the field work to the skill test. And Chaos Bag says -1. So we are fine. That was just my upkeep phase, unfortunately. Yeah, so we're going to gain a resource, and then we get another encounter card. Yay, us. Deep Dark goes away. Let's draw an encounter card. There is the Fang of Yig. I am going to, well, do I want to use my disc on the Fang? I could evade the Fang. And then I never have to come back here. I'm going to keep the Fang, I think. I'm going to save the disc for one of the hunters. The Broods of Yig are hunters. They're really annoying. They will chase me. I don't want to be chased. I would rather just try to evade this guy here and then do some exploration. So we get our 3 actions. First action will be to try to evade the Fang of Yig. We're going 4 versus 3. Chaos Bag says -1. We are successful. So he is exhausted. We will use our second action to explore. Come on, let's get out of here. There is the Hall of Idolatry. That is not good. It's a red square. There's the Dark Hollow. I believe that's fair game. Yep, that's the blue triangle. Blue triangle. We get to move there. We will shuffle the Hall of Idolatry back into the deck. Dark Hollows is a 3-shroud location with 1 clue. After Dark Hollows enters play, check your supplies. If no investigator has a map, place 1 additional clue per investigator on Dark Hollow, and it's worth a victory point. So it has actually 2 clues on it. However, we do get an action with Ursula, her response. We are going 5 versus 3 for the investigate. Chaos Bag gives us a cultist. That's going to be a -2, so we do succeed. We get that clue. We are going to do another investigate to get that other clue, I think. Yeah, we will do another one. We are going to go 5 versus 3 again. Chaos Bag gives us a 0, so we succeed. Now, typically, if I hadn't played this already, I would probably have advanced the act deck at this point, but doing that doesn't really help us all that much because it will just send us back to the mouth of Kinyan, and I really don't want to have to deal with the Fang again. So I'm going to stay put here. I will simply go to my upkeep phase, draw a card. The Fang will ready, but he's not a hunter, so he can just stay there. And we will add a Doom and draw our next encounter card, which is going to be no turning back. This is one of the treacheries that is in the exploration deck. No turning back is a hazard. You attach no turning back to your location or a connecting location. Limit 1 per location. Investigators cannot enter or leave attached location. Test 3 combat or check your supplies if you succeed, or if you have the pickaxe. Yes, we have the pickaxe. I brought that pickaxe along just for something like this. We can discard no turning back, and any investigator at a connecting location may activate this ability. So we get our three actions. I'm going to use the first action to discard the no turning back because we have the pickaxe. I'm going to use my second action to explore again. So we are looking for squares or circles. Squares or circles. There is a final mistake. We test 2 agility. This test gets +1 difficulty for each doom. There is no doom on our location. So we are going 4 versus 2. Is it not? Yes, 4 versus 2. And the Chaos Bag gives us a -3. I assume, yes, -3 because it is a cave. So we are going to take 2 damage, unfortunately. I am going to use my last action to explore again. We will keep exploring. There is the Hall of Idolatry. That is what we are looking for. We will move there. And it is a 3-shroud location with 2 clues. It has the forced effect after you put Hall of Idolatry into play by successfully exploring. Check the campaign log. If there are 5 or more tally marks under Yig's Fury, draw the top card of the encounter deck, top 2 cards instead if there are 10 or more tally marks. And it's worth a victory point. And it is connected to that heart symbol, which we want, as well as the Dark Hollow and the yellow circle location. Now, at this point, I am going to trigger the... I'm going to use a player window to trigger this Cavern of the Forgotten Age. You'll see why here. I will spend my 3 clues. Again, I probably would have done this earlier had I not known what happens, but it is bad. Act 1B is in circles, with very few landmarks to spot along the dark and lonely tunnels. You must rely on your wits and navigation skills to make your way forward without getting lost. If only you had an easy way to mark the places you have already visited. Shuffle Descent to Yath into the exploration deck. The lead investigator chooses one investigator to be the group's scout. That investigator checks his or her supplies. If the scout has chalk, you are able to avoid traveling in circles. The scout suffers, no ill effects. If the scout does not have chalk, and who knew the chalk would be so bloody important, place 1 clue on each location in play from the token pool. Then, if the scout is on a single-sided location, shuffle that location back into the exploration deck. Move each enemy and investigator that was at that location to a connecting location nearest to the mouth of Kinyan. So the Hall of Idolatry goes back into the exploration deck, unfortunately. And we have to shuffle the Descent to Yath into there as well. We move back to the Dark Hollow and add a clue to it, and basically that's... Now, have we... move? We have moved to a location, and we didn't use our response this turn, so we can grab this clue as our final action. So I'm going to do that. 5 versus 3. Let's give it a shot. I never thought of this, but it does work. Chaos Bag gives us a skull, unfortunately, so that is a failure. Oh well, we had a shot, and so we'll just go to the upkeep phase. We will draw a card. There is a perception. We will gain a resource and add a doom. 3 of 7. It is turn 4. Our encounter card is a Deep Dark. We can only discover 1 clue at each location this turn. So that is Deep Dark. Put it next to the agenda deck. No more than 1 clue may be discovered from each location by each investigator each round. And at the end of the round, discard 1 copy of Deep Dark from play. We are going to try to discover this clue as our first action. 5 versus 3. Chaos Bag says 0, so we do discover this clue. And then we are going to investigate, explore as our next action. Shuffle up the exploration deck, and we draw Crystal Pillars. Can we go there? No, we cannot. Next location is Perilous Gulch. Is that fair game? Nope. Next location is... oh, there's a Pitfall, unfortunately, so this will be an unsuccessful exploration. Pitfall is a trap. Peril, you must either choose one, test 3 agility to attempt to jump the gap. For each point you fail by, you take a damage, or shuffle Pitfall into the exploration deck. You cannot choose this option if Pitfall was drawn from the exploration deck. I'm going to commit my fieldwork to this to go 5 versus 3. Chaos Bag says 0, so we will not take any damage from the pit trap. 1 more action left. I will again explore. I'm getting the 2 confused here. Shuffle up the deck. Let's see how we do this time. There's a no turning back. Okay, so I think we've seen all the treacheries out of the deck now. Again, we've seen this one before. Investigators cannot enter or leave attached location. We can either test 3 combat or use our pickaxe to get out of it. Unfortunately, we don't have any actions left this turn, so we will just have to wait here and get rid of it next turn. We will go to Upkeep. I will draw a card. There's Logical Reasoning. That will can heal 2 horror for us. That's nice. We'll gain a resource. Add a Doom. Get rid of this Deep Dark. 4 of 7. We will draw a card. Mythos card is Serpent's Call. You must either choose one, put a set-aside poisoned weakness into play in your threat area, or draw the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. Wow. Put a set-aside poisoned weakness into play. Do we just take the poisoned weakness? I'm just taking the poisoned weakness. Fine. No problem. So I don't have another poisoned weakness, unfortunately, so we're just going to have to remember that. I'm going to put that, actually that Serpent's Call just in my threat area. If we have to reshuffle the deck, I will throw it back in there, but just to remind me that I am poisoned. We get our 3 actions. I'm going to use my first one to do some pickaxing, get rid of this rubble debris here. Second action, we're going to do some more exploring. So we will shuffle, I think. Did we? Anyway. We get Descent to Yath. We can't go there yet. Second one is Hall of Idolatry. We can go there. So we will shuffle the Hall of Descent to Yath back into the deck. We move to the Hall of Idolatry. Hall of Idolatry has 2 clues per investigator, 3 shroud. After you put it into play, after successfully exploring, check the campaign log. If there are 5 or more tally marks under Yig's Fury, draw the top card of the encounter deck. Top 2 cards instead if there are 10 or more marks, and it's worth a victory point. We don't have to worry about either of that because we have we only have 2 tally marks. I am going to investigate. We are going 5 versus 3. Chaos Bag says Skull again. It's -3. It is a cave, so we fail. Whoops, that was our free investigate. So we do have one more action. I will investigate again, 5 versus 3. Chaos Bag gives us a cultist. That's a -2, but and add a doom, but we are at 5, so we don't worry about it. We gain a clue. All right, I think we're in good shape. We'll go to the Upkeep. We will draw a card. There is the Relic of Ages. It's got 3 wild icons, and we can, if it's in play, we can exhaust it to remove a doom from the current agenda or add a doom to the Relic of Ages if we fail. I don't think we'll be doing that this game. We will gain a resource. Add a doom. We are at 5 of 7. Let's draw our encounter card. It's an Ancestral Fear. We have the choice of either placing a doom on your location and discarding Ancestral Fear instead of putting it in the victory display, or putting it in the victory display and it's Vengeance 1. What do we do here? Do we add a doom? What's bad if we add a doom? Yeah, I'm just going to add a doom, I think. Yep, I'm going to add a doom here. So we are at 6. So we are advancing next turn, but that does have Surge. So we'll draw again. There's a Snake Scourge. Put Snake Scourge into play in your threat area. If you are poisoned, Snake Scourge gains Surge. Great. So now we're going to get, this is our 3rd card this turn, and it blanks all of our items. Ooh, is the relic, ooh, the relic, the disc is an item. So it's blank. Yikes. Next encounter card is, of course, we draw the enemy right then. So we get the Brood of Yig. 2 fight, 3 health, 2 evade, humanoid monster, serpent hunter. Brood gets +1 fight for each vengeance point in the victory display. There are no vengeance points in the victory display. We weren't going to fight him anyway. We're just going to evade him. So we are advancing next turn. We need to grab this clue and get a move on. We need to also avoid this brood. We're going to start off by doing that. We will drop 6 versus 3 if we do that. Yeah, we're going to evade him with the Relic of Ages. So we're going to go 7 versus 2. Chaos Bag gives us -2, so we do succeed. So he is evaded. That was our first action. Second action, we are going to investigate. Our magnifying glass is blank, so we are at 4, 5, 6 versus 3. Chaos Bag gives us a 0, so we are successful. We get a deduction. Okay, that's nice. Help us if we need more clues. And I'm going to use my final action to explore. I believe we need to shuffle this deck, and we get Vast Passages. It is the yellow, so yellow is fair game. We move there. Vast Passages is a 2-shroud location with 1 clue as an additional cost for you to explore. While at Vast Passages, check your supplies. If no investigator at this location has binoculars, you must spend 1 additional action. We do have binoculars, so that is fine by me. And we are good to go, I think. We can take an investigate action 4 versus 2 as our freebie, and we will do that now. Chaos Bag gives us a cultist again, so that's a success. So we have 4 clues. The Vast Passages is connected to the entrance, the Dark Hollow, the Hall of Idolatry, the Perilous Gulch, I believe it's called, and the Cavern. All right, we go to Upkeep. The Brood will ready. We will draw a card. There's another disc. That's nice. We might need to get rid of this other one. We will add a Doom. We are advancing this turn. Agenda 1B is Serpent's Revenge. Check the campaign log. If the Harbinger is still alive, of course he is, because we haven't fought him. From the entrance far behind you, a threatening hiss and an all too familiar rattling causes you to freeze in terror. You grip the nearest weapon you can find and turn in fright, hands trembling. How has it followed you this far? When will this awful hunt end? Search the collection for the Harbinger of Velusia and spawn it at the location farthest from all investigators. If there are 8 or more tally marks under Yig's Fury in your campaign log, it enters play at the lead investigator's location instead. It enters play with damage on it equal to the amount of damage recorded in parentheses in your campaign log. This guy has appeared in previous scenarios, so I did... Oh yeah, okay. Sorry, I thought that was in my victory display for a second. I did bring a Harbinger along just in case. So he will start at the mouth. And he will give chase quite quickly, actually. He can chase us down. He can hit the Dark Hollows and then go from there. So I'm not a bit... Oh, actually, he can come right to Vast Passages. Wow, that's bad news. All right, well, we are going to have to avoid him for a while. Eyes in the Dark is Agenda 2A. Bright yellow eyes peer at you from all sides as you continue delving deeper into the cavern. The glowing orbs vanish as light is cast on them, reappearing as soon as the darkness returns. And it has the action, if there are no clues on your location, explore, draw the top card of the exploration deck. If it is a connecting location, put it into play and move to it. This agenda gets +1 Doom threshold per investigator, so it is a 13. We need to draw an encounter card. This Snake Scourge is gone, thankfully. Our encounter card this round is Poisonous Spores. Poisonous Spores is attached to your location. At the end of the round, each investigator at the attached location who is poisoned takes 2 horror. Each investigator at the attached location who is not poisoned must put a set-aside poisoned weakness into play in his or her threat area instead. Discard Poisonous Spores. All right, so we need to... we get our 3 actions this turn. Now, the Hall of Idolatry connects to Descent to Yath, but this one does not. So I'm actually going to move back to the Brood of Yig here and engage him. I'm also moving there simply because the Harbinger cannot get me there right away. As our second action, we will evade the Brood. We are going 4 versus 2. I don't have anything I can pitch to that, so we'll just have to see. Chaos Bag gives us a 0, which is nice. Very nice, in fact. So that goes away. He is exhausted. We have 1 action remaining, which I will use to explore. And I believe we should draw, unless there is a weakness in here that, or a treachery I have not seen, we should be okay. There is the Crystal Pillars, but it is the half moon. We cannot go there. Here is the Descent to Yath. Nice. Okay, so we put that into play. Yes, everything's fine. So we used our final action to move to Descent to Yath. Like I said, it's a 3-shroud location with 0 clues. Ancient Cave trait. Forced after Descent to Yath enters play, each investigator must either place 1 Doom on Descent to Yath or draw the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. I am simply going to draw the top 2 cards of the encounter deck because if I don't place a Doom on it, it doesn't matter. If I don't place it... Oh, I forgot to advance my act a long time ago. Act 2A, anyway. Descent into the dark. The deeper you descend into the cold darkness, the more you feel the crushing weight of the world above and the dizzying reality of the world further below. You suddenly long for the surface and wonder if you will ever see the sky again. If each surviving investigator is at the Descent of Yath and there is no Doom on it, you may advance. So... we have entered, it has entered play. We may either place a Doom on it or simply draw the 2 encounter cards. Since there's no Doom on it, we can use a free player window to advance the objective. So we will do that now. We will simply draw the top 2 cards of the encounter deck. First card is Entombed. Entombed is a trap. You put it into play in your threat area. You cannot disengage from enemies or move. Test for agility to escape the tomb or for combat to break out. If you succeed, discard Entombed. If you fail, reduce the difficulty of this skill test by 1 until the end of the round. Fortunately, Entombed does not prevent us from using free triggered actions, which is advancing the act deck. So that doesn't hurt us. Next card is an Ill Omen. Choose a location where there is at least 1 investigator. Place 1 Doom on that location. Now that is a problem. Each investigator at the location takes 1 horror. So that totally screws us right there. Wow. Right at the end, the Ill Omen sneaks in and places a Doom on... on Descent to Yath. So, and we will take a horror, unfortunately. However, this is interesting. Let's see here. Did I take a horror yet? No, I did not. I added a Doom. Okay, so the Doom goes on. So now we cannot simply take the free player window to get out of this. So that is very interesting. However, we do have our response, which comes after the forced effect from Descent to Yath. So we can use Ursula's response to investigate, and which is after you successfully investigate Descent to Yath, we can flip the doom back to a clue side. So let's do that now. We are going 5 versus 3. I'm going to play the deduction. So after you successfully investigate, so we're going 6 versus 3. Chaos Bag says skull. That is a -3, but we are successful. 4, 5, 6. Yep. So we do flip this to its clue side. All right, there's a clue there now instead of a doom. So now we could take the action. We could use a free player window to end the game, but I want the 2 victory points out of this. So I'm going to wait a turn. Now we go to the enemy phase. The Harbinger of Valusia is going to move. He can go to yellow, blue, or green. He would go to yellow. No. He would go... Does yellow get him there? No. He needs to go blue. He can go blue, red, me. So he goes there. The Brood will ready during my upkeep. I will draw a card. There is my poison, so I'm double poisoned. And I gain a resource. We add a doom. There are 2 in play. Let's draw an encounter card. It is creeping poison. Each investigator who is poisoned takes a damage, so I will take a damage. And that surges into a Pitfall. Pitfall, you must either choose one, test 3 to attempt to jump the gap. For each point you fail by, take a damage, or shuffle Pitfall into the exploration deck. You cannot choose this option if Pitfall was drawn from the exploration deck. I'm not planning on exploring anymore, so I'm putting that back into the exploration deck. That's fine by me. Okay, our turn. Boy, we're touch and go there because we've got that Curse of Yig in our threat area, which makes us -1 health. So we are actually a 6 health. So I would have liked to have seen an enemy there, not more treacheries that are going to cause damage. We get our 3 actions. This poisonous spore should be gone too. Okay, so we need to get moving. We get 3 actions. We need to discover this clue and then leave. Quit the game. It says... This Entombed says we cannot disengage from enemies or move. So that is fine. First action, we are going 5 versus 3. I'm actually going to commit this disc. So we're going 6 versus 3. Chaos Bag says... Didn't say anything. Chaos Bag says -2. All right. Nice work, Chaos Bag. So we will... Not that. This. All right, we grab the clue. All right, we have the clue. We have our victory points. We have 2 actions remaining, but we won't need them. We will simply use during one of the player windows, we will if each surviving investigator is at the Descent of Yath and there is no doom on it, you may advance. I am going to advance. Act 2B is to Yath. Excuse me. To Yath is before lies an ornate and elaborately decorated doorway, a stone disc that has been rolled aside to unveil the hellish realm beyond. The caverns on the other side are bathed in a red glow. The serpent-themed statues and carvings along the walls inform you that you are on the right track. Check the campaign log if the investigators rescued Alejandro, R1, or if Alejandro is missing, R2. Well, we didn't trust Alejandro. We put our we put our stock in Ishtaka, and Ishtaka did forget the gasoline, and she didn't bring chalk, which was turns out to be a big deal. But Alejandro's been a pretty fishy guy from the beginning of this whole cycle, so he is missing. I am going to read the resolution 2 for this. Before you are able to cross the next layer of the cavern, a sound like click-clacking of a claw catches you by surprise. Emerging from the darkness behind you are several alien creatures, the likes of which you have never seen. 10 feet tall, with canonical bodies that end in 4 strange appendages of varying lengths. You are stunned to see a human figure standing at the head of the group, none other than Alejandro Vela. Take their minds, Alejandro commands the creatures. We have no further use for them. It is your last human memory. No! Alejandro is in league with the evil Yithians. That scumbag. We knew he was a fishy guy, but turns out he's in cahoots with the Yithians. So they have seized our minds. So who knows what that means, although we have had tantalizing glimpses of what's to come in City of Archives, and I'm really excited to play that particular scenario. So if the Harbinger is in play, he's still alive, so we just add that. We add vengeance points and whatnot, and we gain victory points. So pretty straightforward ending there. We do end this scenario with 4 victory points and 2 vengeance points. So we're up to 4 in Yig's Fury. So this was, I did unfortunately play this and record it, but just not record the video. I've got the audio. So it was nice to be able to play it again and to get another victory out of it. I think this one actually went smoother than the first one. During the first game, I had the Expedition Journal, which let us take a lot of extra actions to explore locations, which was great, but we did have broods of Yig, at least one brood of Yig chasing us the whole time, which made it more difficult. In this particular scenario, I think I made the right decision just evading the Fang at the beginning, and then I had my Disc of Itzamna in reserve, so if I drew a brood, I could discard it and get rid of it. Unfortunately, we happened to draw the brood right after a Snake Scourge, which blanked the text of the disc. So the strategy was sound. It's just the encounter deck pulled off a really nice combo, and we were unable to get rid of the brood. But if we had, I think we would have. We were in good stead. I think this particular scenario really fits in. Really works well for Ursula. I mean, Ursula is all about movement and gathering clues, and that's what this scenario is. You're just moving. You just want to move from location to location as fast as you can and gather clues and be done with it. And that's what she's good at. So she can handle this. You know, you compare this to a scenario like the Boundary Beyond, where there's a lot of enemies that she has to deal with, and it just doesn't. It's a lot more challenging for her to do that. Boundary Beyond also doesn't play well with her because it blanks a lot of her key cards like field work and whatnot. Cards that rely on clues. She simply doesn't have the access to that, so that scenario becomes a lot tougher. Now, I was pretty hard on Heart of the Elders Part 1 after I finished it. I think that was more just the shock of having to play it again. I really wasn't expecting that. The designers really threw me for a loop there. And I certainly understand it from a story perspective. And when I was thinking about it later, I think that I wish they had gone a different direction with it. I can understand it from a story perspective. I mean, it is a puzzle to get into a cave. If you can't solve the puzzle, you can't continue with the campaign. I get that. But if they had worked it so, say, if you were resigned or defeated, then you had to replay the scenario. That would have been okay. And then if you advanced through Agenda 2A to 2B and had to spend the night in the jungle, I think it would have been better if they had simply had something terrible happen to you at night unless you had like a blanket or binoculars or one of the supplies, something to make it to play a little bit more with the supply aspect of this cycle, and then flip the agenda back to 2A so you could continue playing without having to restart from scratch. I think I would have liked that a little bit more than just players immediately resign. You know, that to me is, it's just a little too abrupt. And overall, I think Heart of the Elders, it works. I think the scenario actually works quite well for Ursula. If she hadn't had such a bad Boundary Beyond, I think the first scenario would have been a lot easier. And this is certainly a relatively easy scenario for her because it just focuses on moving and clues. And so I'd put it down with Threads of Fate in terms of difficulty. I think so far this cycle, I would consider the Boundary Beyond and the Doom of Estley to be the most difficult for Ursula. I should say that I've played several other investigators through the Doom of Estley, and it has gone a lot more smoothly than it did for Ursula during my blind playthrough. So far the difficulty, I think it really depends on the investigator. My Leo Anderson campaign, for example, like he had a little bit of trouble in Untamed Wilds. He did take a trauma out of it, but Doom of Estley, he had no trouble at all doing that one. It seemed to take a long time to get moving and to finish the scenario, but he was packing and elusive, which makes that scenario a real cakewalk. So that is going to do it for me today. I will be back in 3 or 4 weeks' time with a playthrough of City of Archives. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to playing that one because it has a really cool trick up its sleeve, and I can't wait to bring that episode to you. So stay tuned for that. And I will have my reviews of the player cards in Heart of the Elders coming out probably in a week or two, just putting the finishing touches on that. That's going to do it for me today. If you enjoyed this playthrough, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromleng@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromleng. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.